Cold nights creeping in? Feel winter's coming? Tonight, White Walkers, the long night, and the heroes who fought back. From Westeros to Essos, the legend changes names hidden in prophecies as old as time. We'll cover early history too. See how it started, then discuss the Night's Watch, the Starks and myths the Maesters still debate. Finally, readings from my fave chapters. Support the channel? Check out my Patreon. So snuggle up, grab a warm drink, and let's dive in. Before the long night, the others, or the wall. Let's rewind to a wild, magical time. The Age of Heroes, where Westeros legends began. It all started with the first men. Thousands of years back, 10k to 12k. They crossed from Essos via the Arm of Dawn. These weren't gentle settlers. Tough and stubborn, they brought bronze horses and a bold attitude. But Westeros wasn't empty when they arrived. It was home to the Children of the Forest, a mysterious race there for ages. Before humans, Maester Luwin described them. People of the dawn, small but brave. Eyes like shadow pools, hair like autumn leaves. They didn't build cities. They lived with nature. In woods, caves, and villages. Their weapons were obsidian or dragon glass. They carved faces into weirwood trees, seeing them as divine links. Easy to think they were just weak, but not at all. They were powerful. They had magic. They spoke to animals, saw futures via greenseers, and tapped into ancient power. When the first men chopped sacred weirwoods and claimed land, the children fought back. With magic, obsidian, and local knowledge, while the first men used grit and force. Eventually, after centuries of war, both sides saw it was pointless. They made a deal, the pact, on the Isle of Faces, in the God's Eye Lake. First men promised to stop cutting weirwoods and protect the forests. Children agreed humans could keep the lands they'd claimed. A new era began. First men adopted the children's faith, worshipped old gods, and saw weirwoods as sacred. Houses like the Starks still keep these traditions. Many heroes emerged like Bran the Builder, and heads of houses we know founded their lines and kingdoms then. For a while all was well. First men and children lived in peace. Old gods were honored, and human strongholds lasted ages. But in the frozen north, change brewed. Old Nan's tale in Game of Thrones. A shadow fell over the world. Men froze, women screamed, children wept. The others came on pale horses, and the dead walked with them. This was the Long Night, one of the oldest stories in A Song of Ice and Fire. History and myth blur easily, especially with different regional tales, but one thing's certain. It was humanity's darkest hour. From Westeros north to Essos cities, tales of that endless winter persist. Long enough for generations to live and die unseen. The others, or White Walkers, were tall, pale beings from the land of always winter, far north of Westeros. Old Nan said they were cold, dead things, but Joram says they're alive. They're strange, beautiful, inhuman, and dangerous. They glide over snow, leaving no tracks. Intense cold and white mist followed them. Did the cold come with them, or did they appear when the world was already frozen? No easy answers. Like many debated mysteries, the others had unique weapons. Thin, crystalline, impossibly sharp, they cut through armor like butter. Their blades made a high-pitched wail, like a wounded animal. Fire reacted oddly too, screeching on contact. Joram says the swords are ice, but not ordinary ice. They wield it beyond human grasp. Beyond weapons, the others raised the dead. Animated corpses became whites. Empty husks did their bidding. Burning the dead was the only sure way to stop reanimation. Whites weren't just humans. They could raise horses, bears, direwolves, even mammoths. Some stories say they rode giant ice spiders. Wildlings thought the others smelled life's warmth. hating all warm-blooded creatures. Some wild tales say they'd kidnap women, giving them to the others to bear half-human kids. Later, some got desperate, treating the others like gods. Craster sacrificed his sons as offerings for protection. But Melisandre thinks White Walkers are the cold children of the Great Other, an evil god of darkness. Knowing all this about them, it makes sense they terrorized the first men. They seemed unstoppable until the last hero appeared. His name's lost, but he sought the children of the forest for help. He traveled with companions, a horse and a dog, but the cold and the others claimed them all. His sword froze and broke piece by piece. His horse died. He was left alone. Giant spiders and icy terrors chased him through snow, but against all odds he found the children and got them to join the fight. With their dragonglass and old knowledge, humans could fight back. The last stand was called the Battle for the Dawn. The first men and children pushed back the others. They retreated to the far north, the lands of always winter. Humans knew it wasn't a total victory, just a delay. So they built the wall. Tyrion says it's 100 leagues long and 700 feet high. A marvel, they called it. A wonder of the world. But the real wonder is what's beyond. It's a physical barrier against the others' return. The children also used magic to fortify it. So it's more than just ice and stone. The Night's Watch was created to guard it. An ancient brotherhood sworn to watch the wall, defending the realms of men. But this is Westerosi legend. This long night and last hero is from the north. Over in Essos, there's a similar but different version, tied to its own myths and heroes. Let's talk about E.T. Across the sea beyond the Shadowlands was a golden empire. Like fantasy imperial China. Huge palaces, dragons, and thousands of years of history. At its height, ruled by god emperors from celestial beings, its wealth and power were unmatched. By A Song of Ice and Fire, it's still significant, but a shadow of its former self. Its golden age past, its history is myth. He remembers the long night. As a generation-long darkness, the sun vanished. Demons and monsters walked the earth. In E.T.'s story, there's also a hero. Very little info on this one, though. Only a legend about a woman with a monkey's tail, averting disaster. But E.T.'s long night connects to an earlier event. The fall of the great empire of the dawn. Emperors descended from the Lion of Night and Maiden of Light. They symbolized night and day, ruling in peace. But reigns grew shorter, more troubled. Mankind got greedier. The last ruler was the Amethyst Empress, usurped by her brother, the Bloodstone Emperor. He was cruel, practicing dark magic and necromancy. He worshipped a black stone from the sky. The Bloodstone Emperor's actions offended the gods, and the long night descended. This version asks an interesting question. Was the long night a consequence of mankind's actions? Or just a cosmic disaster? Before we get too philosophical, one more version. There's a city called Azor at the world's edge, in the Shadowlands. Built from black stone, maybe the same stone the Bloodstone Emperor worshipped. Azor is huge but almost empty. No kids, no animals, no decent folk. Even the river glows with black, toxic light. It's a hub for sorcerers, shadowbinders, and red priests, practicing dark magic freely. Many ancient secrets, including dragons, are buried there. Azor has its own long night story. It's about Azor Ahai, a legendary hero, who fought darkness after a sacrifice. He needed to forge a sword, Lightbringer, to defeat it. He tried 3 times. First, he tempered it in water. It shattered. Second, he drove it into a lion's heart. It broke again. Third time, after 100 days and nights, it was ready. He called his wife Nissa for the final sacrifice. She agreed. Azor Ahai drove the sword into her chest, forging the sword. He asked his wife Nissa for one final sacrifice. She agreed. He plunged the sword in. Her soul, life, and love poured into the steel. The sword blazed with light. This last act created Lightbringer, a sword to push back the dark. Melisandre said in A Clash of Kings, "A day will come after the long summer, when the stars bleed and the cold dark falls heavy. In this dread hour, a warrior will draw a burning sword. That sword will be Lightbringer." She follows Lawler, Lord of Light. He believed Azor Ahai would return, reborn as the prince, promised to fight darkness again. Melisandre first thought Stannis Baratheon was Azor Ahai reborn. Later she focused on Jon Snow. But now we know more than we did years ago. Considering new details from House of the Dragon and what George R. R. Martin has said, it's becoming very possible Daenerys Targaryen also fits the prophecy. Just a side note, a personal thought. I always believed she was the prince or princess promised, so I really hope this plays out if we ever get Winds of Winter. That said, the prophecy's vagueness is on purpose. George R. R. Martin often says his world's prophecies are unreliable, open to interpretation, and misleading. So, is Azor Ahai the last hero and the ET hero the same person? Or were there really 3 separate long nights across continents? We don't know for sure. Let's go back north to Westeros to talk more about the Night's Watch. As we discussed, it was formed to guard the wall from the White Walkers. It was once a very prestigious order. Noble houses sent their younger sons, seeing it as an honorable duty. But as the others seemed less of a threat, the Watch's purpose and its members changed. For most of recorded history, the Watch dealt with wildlings north of the Wall. Though not inherently evil, wildlings were seen as lawless savages, raiders, and a threat to the settled lands of the north. Men joining the Night's Watch took lifelong vows of sacrifice, discipline, and duty. They gave up all personal ambitions, family, and any chance at a normal life. There are 3 main roles in the Watch. Rangers are the scouts and frontline fighters. They patrol beyond the wall and deal with threats. Builders maintain the wall and all the forts along it. Then there are stewards, which Jon Snow started as. They handle the Night's Watch's daily operations. It's like the admin side. They cook, manage supplies, and tend to message ravens. The Night's Watch is led by the Lord Commander, elected by the brothers, who manages alliances and the Watch's limited resources. The organization initially had 19 castles along the wall. The main stronghold was Castle Black, right in the center. Obviously, this required a lot of manpower to maintain and defend, but over thousands of years, as White Walker threats seemed less real, this became impossible. Nobles stopped sending sons. Instead, exiles, criminals, and outcasts made up most of the Watch. Only 3 castles were still manned out of 19. Most people stopped believing in White Walkers, dismissing them as myth or superstition, or just scary stories for kids. Before we leave the Night's Watch, there's an interesting story to share. According to legend, an unnamed man was the 13th Lord Commander. He's known only as the Night's King. Don't confuse him with the Night King from the show, who isn't in the books, which is why I didn't mention him. Anyway, the Night's King lived during the Age of Heroes, not long after the wall was built. While serving the Watch, he fell in love with a woman he saw from the wall. She had cold, pale skin and eyes like bright blue stars. The Night's King found her. When he gave her his love, he gave his soul too. He brought her back to the Night Fort, one of the castles on the wall. He called her his queen and became a king through dark magic. He twisted the Night's Watch brothers to his will and reigned for 13 years with his corpse queen. During this time he did terrible things like sacrificing children to the others. Among other atrocities wiped from history, the king in the north, Brandon the Breaker, teamed up with the king beyond the wall to defeat him. His name was erased and forbidden. But when old Nan told this story to Bran Stark, she'd always say he was a Stark. Again, this story is just a legend, but I thought it was interesting enough to mention. And honestly a little creepy. Speaking of creepy though, since we're on the subject of the Night Fort, there's an old gate there called the Black Gate. In the Night Fort's kitchens is a well that goes deep underground. A weirwood tree has grown through the floor. If you go down the spiral stairs of the well, you'll reach the bottom. Weirwoods, if you don't remember, are trees the children of the forest carved faces into. The Black Gate itself is made of glowing white weirwood. A withered face is carved into its surface, with deep lines and blind eyes that seem to have never seen. When someone approaches the gate, the eyes open and the face speaks, asking the visitor to identify themselves. But it doesn't let just anyone pass. Only someone who recites part of the Night's Watch vow can enter. When they do, the mouth stretches wide, becoming a huge, gaping opening. The Black Gate is as old as the wall, likely built with the same ancient magic the children used to make the wall. Let's finish this lore dive by talking about the Starks. The Starks of Winterfell are one of Westeros's oldest noble families, and their connection to the Long Night is deep. Their whole identity, house words, traditions, even their family line, everything stems from a huge ancient disaster. Just look at their famous motto, "Winter is coming." While other houses have mottos meant to sound tough or proud, like a brand, Stark's motto is a stark warning about an old threat returning, signaling another long night. Their founder, Bran the Builder, lived during the Age of Heroes. He supposedly built Winterfell and the Wall right after that long night ended. Bran is one of those legendary figures. It's tough to know what's fact and what's myth, but the key takeaway is this. The Starks say they're descended from the guy who built the ultimate defense against the White Walkers, and they've been linked to that defense ever since. Winterfell itself was built to withstand brutal, unending winters. Natural hot springs beneath the castle keep its walls surprisingly warm, even in the deepest cold. But here's where it gets really wild. The crypts beneath Winterfell are huge. They go deep down, filled with stone statues of dead Stark lords, their hands crossed with iron swords. And those swords aren't just for show. They're thought to keep restless spirits at bay. But why would the Starks even need to worry about that? What exactly are they trying to lock away in those crypts? Theories suggest Winterfell's crypts hold something really important, maybe a secret from the Long Night, or something linked to the White Walkers. It's easy to see why. The crypts are mentioned a lot in the books, described as chilling and having a strange vibe. The Starks are one of the few families with pure First Men blood. Most southern houses have a mix of First Men and Undul blood. I have other videos explaining the Undul invasion, but the point is the First Men had a strong bond with the children of the forest and their magic. Many Stark children inherit abilities connected to this magic. Warging, controlling animals, is super rare, but it shows up often in the Stark family. Bran Stark is the prime example, but Jon Snow, Arya, and Rickon Stark also hint at it. Then there's green seeing through weirwood trees, and glimpsing the past or future. Bran Stark doesn't just become a normal green seer. He becomes the three-eyed crow, gaining ancient knowledge and power. If you're curious about warging and green seers, check out my video on Westeros's magic. So yeah, there's definitely something in the Stark bloodline. Something tied to the old gods and the kind of magic that shaped the world during the Long Night. And that's our lore dive for tonight. Thanks for tuning in, and remember, winter is coming. Thank you. 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 Thank you.